Hello, this is Mary. I'm here to do my board presentation on Welcome Aboard. We're going to be talking about the Lakeland case and welcome aboard, but don't change a thing. We're going to talk about Cheryl Hailstrom. She was invited into the company as CEO. As the previous leader stepped out, she was put in control and tried to make some big changes in the company fairly quickly. So we're just going to discuss this case and what her management style was, her leadership choices were, and how I would choose to do that differently. So to get started, I just want to do a quick overview of the case itself. So we have Cheryl Hailstrom. She came into a company. She wasn't fully a stranger, but they knew who she was. She worked for another company. They knew she was successful. They liked her drive. They liked her attitude. They brought her in. She's been with the company going on 6 months, and that's where the case study starts. At the beginning, she approaches one of her right-hand man and talks to him about manufacturing, and he doesn't seem to be fully on board, and she mentions that, so she's aware that he isn't 100% on board. So they have their conversation. There are other leaders in the company that are in management positions that are showing Cheryl concern about the pace at which the company is growing, and about the big changes that she's trying to implement in such a short amount of time. They're not only showing concern about the company itself, but also about the employees and how the employees are going to feel. So those are some really important things she should be taking into consideration. And she knows all along. She's asking herself, why are people dragging their feet? Something doesn't seem right. She tries to chart a course. She gets her team together. She tries to conduct the meeting in a way that will veer the company in the direction that she wants it to go. That didn't really work for her in this case. And then having a visit from the previous leader and having him tell her that she really must be careful, and just showing his sincere concern for her, I feel like should have really opened her eyes. So we have that as part of our case study. And Cheryl even mentions a board showdown to Wally, and Wally just says, whoa, slow down. So, everyone involved is kind of looking at Cheryl and all the changes she's trying to make, which is what she was hired to do, but not everyone's fully comfortable. So that's pretty much our case study. I have a PowerPoint presentation that just briefly touches on what I'm going to talk about today, so I will provide that. So to get started, my presentation is going to have 3 main points. The first point will touch on the analysis of Cheryl Hailstrom. We'll talk about some pros and some cons of her leadership choices and maybe some things I would have done differently. The second point will be my personal views and change ideas, what I would have done instead. And then my third point will be thinking forward. Some goals that I would set for the company and expect the company to be able to reach. And then what the company could look like 1 to 2 years down the road if they were to choose me to help them implement these big changes. So to get started, let's talk about Cheryl. I feel like Cheryl really is a great leader. She has the energy and the enthusiasm that is infectious to the team, and that is super important to have. So she has that sense of urgency. She has the ability to get people motivated, which is really important. She's very dedicated to her goals. She stays late after work. She has really high expectations. She knows what's expected of her. She knows these profit goals that have been set for her, and she's working really hard to meet them. In fact, she won't accept anything other than success. She's very passionate about her work. It seems like, she really cares. She really wants to get everyone on board with her, and she wants to take this company to a place that she knows it can go and that the previous owner knew it could go. And she's very passionate about getting it there, which is great. past successes. She was really successful at her previous employment, so successful that this company, saw her potential and chose to bring her on as the head honcho. So that speaks a lot of her. And she's motivated to face challenge, which I thought was the most important thing for her. She is being met with tension, and some of the employees aren't fully comfortable with what's going on. But she's not afraid of that. She's facing it head on. She's not backing down, which could be a weakness, but it's still really good that she is motivated to face challenge, because she's going to face challenge no matter what. So I think that that's great. Some cons: she's really aggressive. She hasn't communicated with lower level employees regarding these big changes, which I thought was important for two reasons. A, she could really use their input as far as, she's talking about where they can save money and new strategies. Those are the people that know how the business runs. These are the people that know, well, we've been wasting money over here. I've known it for years. We should change this. These are the people who really know the ins and outs of the business, and who really put in all the nitty gritty, hard work, and they deserve to be consulted when there's going to be such big changes. And her team expressed that to her. They expressed that the employees might get upset, they might be afraid, they might get scared from the changes. So I feel like she needs to be better about communication, not listening to upper level management, even in an intimate setting. And maybe that can be because she's only been there 6 months, and so developing those relationships hasn't happened yet. But even so, she really I think a leader needs to be able to listen to others, especially in this case. These people have been a part of the company, a part of the organization for a really long time. They know what's expected of them and what the team wants, and she should really be more open to her team and listening what their wants and needs are. I feel like there wasn't enough data provided for her team. She maybe could have got a little more support had she provided more data and a solid plan laid out for them, even a timeline to say, this is what we'll do. We'll do it in increment, whatever it may be, whatever the plan is. She needs to lay it out for everyone so that everyone can understand what's going to happen. Not enough trust, relationship building happening. She's only been there 6 months. Clearly, her team doesn't trust her. Clearly, there hasn't been enough relationship building. I don't know if that's simply because there hasn't been any, or if there just hasn't been enough time for that to happen. But clearly, there are some relationship issues that need to be dealt with. And too much change in a short amount of time. No goals set, including a timeline for change. So, yes, just putting a plan in place, saying, by this time we're going to achieve this. By this time we're going to achieve this. Then you have something to measure yourself on, and you're able to set goals not only for yourself but for the entire organization. Moving on, my personal views and change ideas. I feel strongly about including all the employees in the communication about the changes. I feel like you need to get their input. You should know their opinions. You should have them involved throughout the entire process. That includes constant feedback, surveys, building relationships at all levels of the organization. Cheryl, I feel like herself should be going out and building these relationships. Create a set of company values that encompass the new vision of the organization. I feel like if Cheryl from the get-go would have been open with the organization and would have said, here's the kind of leader that I am. This is the kind of organization we're working towards. I need you guys to get behind me. I would like your input and your opinion. If she would have, and then to create this new vision and these new values and goals that all the employees can look to as a guideline as they go about these big changes. Making a plan that includes short and long-term goals that have been agreed upon by everyone. So again, including everyone in the communications, setting some goals so that people have something to work toward instead of just slapping everyone in the face and saying, this is what's going to happen and it needs to happen right away. That's just not the right way to do it. Get the right people on the bus and the wrong people off the bus. I feel like for Cheryl, this will be probably very important She's coming into an organization where people have been there for 20 years. They're used to the way things are. And if she comes in and in the right way says, this is how I want things to be, and I have the support of the organization, and everyone agrees, and there's still managers, and she mentions having managers, she feels like tell her one thing, but behind her back is a different story. I feel like she needs to hold them accountable, and if they don't end up rolling with the punches, they got to go. Measuring progress and report to all shareholders consistently and honestly. You got to be open with all levels of the company, including the union workers, most importantly, the union workers, and work hard to build trust and develop relationships with key managers. I feel like even if there is that tension and that conflict there, as a newcomer and a newcomer that's trying to make such big changes in such a small amount of time, she really has to work on building up those relationships, building trust within her team, and proving herself as a leader to everyone. And that means building relationships. Thinking forward, establish a company that has a real vision and some real values and goals set. Enable upward communication. Get your people alignment. Get everyone on the same page as far as goals and strategies and values and visions. Setting goals, short-term and long-term, so that everyone knows what's expected of them and they can be measured and graded. Increase teamwork and collaboration. Get everyone talking. Get the relationships building, and share the data, share the knowledge, so that the change can be made in the best way possible. What would the company look like 1 to 2 years down the road with my change leadership? I feel like the company would definitely look different. I feel like these change efforts would be successful, but that would mean having a company that's much more connected, having a company that values all levels of employment and values the input at all levels, and these decisions wouldn't be being made just by Cheryl and her team. They would be made by the entire company, and that would increase commitment and would make us more likely to be successful. So yeah, more focus on relationships, increased communication, added value, if not from expansion, just from the input that you're going to be getting from all the different levels of employment. I would hope that we would be able to find ways to, save money, not cut corners. And in the end, I think just starting with why, having a company where everyone is on the same page as to why are we doing this, what are our goals in the end, and what do we all have in common here. So just a closer knit company that values all levels of employment in order to create a more valuable organization. That is my completed board presentation. Thank you for your time.